So it would appear that the Roach Lord himself has managed to piss everybody off again. Okay? So, for those who do not know, let me see if I can find the tweet properly. But Asmongold, our boy, friend of the channel, no idea I exist, has said some things that, as usual, pissed some people off. Now, I am currently scrolling through Yeet for the original statement. Yeet, you know them. They're the ones that have now taken over the role of documenting what all of the biggest names in streaming like to say. So, let's first, before we go into anything else, I want to see or show what the actual original quote that has everybody upset is. Now, I'm not going to say my opinion on this yet. You're going to have to wait until the later parts of the video. But like, subscribe, let's get into it.
You can be groomed for sure. No, and that's a good point, right? Is that like that's why I said as an adult is because like if you're a kid and like you get fed a lot of propaganda and like messaging, like I feel like every trans kid is actually a victim of a parent with a mental illness. That's what I believe. And so, like, I really, and this, you got a kid that's like 17, right? I mean, it's a little bit more, it's like not really as definitive. But like, if you have a kid that's like pre-puberty and they're trans, your parents have a mental illness. That's it.
That's the statement. That's what everybody's mad about. If you look down, everybody's talking about this, right? Now, this person, yeah, there's a million arguments that are out here. Problem with a lot of these. This has nothing to do with the situation. This has nothing to do with the situation, and he's taking this back. Okay, yeah, fair. And as you see, there is a divide here. There are people who think that this is absolutely true, that a child who is prepubescent almost certainly is not going to be trans, and while there are exceptions to this, the vast majority of people are divided here. But he has now put out a video addressing this statement, possibly amending it, possibly doubling down. We don't know, and by we I mean me. So let's find out. Let's judge, let's state our own opinion later on, and let's see.
I think a lot of people were glad that I said this, right? I mean, like there were a lot, like I've been seeing this post go all around social media a lot.
He's right. There's a lot of people who agree. There's a lot of people who feel like they're not allowed to have this opinion on the internet. And so somebody like Asmongold, who is very moderate in a lot of these things, and yes, this is a very moderate take. His take is not there are no trans kids. His take is not trans people don't exist. His take is if you are a child who is prepubescent, who hasn't even begun the process of growing into your gender or growing into your assigned gender and your sex, yeah, you have no idea whether or not you're trans. You don't know because you lack the context to know. This is what everybody outside of the internet, outside of this context, thinks. So yeah, a lot of people who watch him agree with this and are glad to see him saying this.
And this is what I said.
And by the way, as somebody who interacts with a family of people who mostly do not do internet at all, most people here are way worse than this. Way worse than it. And it's not even and I say that not in the sense of people are transphobic. No, I don't think so, but I think people, well, number one, a lot of them don't understand it. And number two, the ones that do understand it, here in Europe, at least here in Portugal, are much more in the sense of, okay, yes, fine. You as an adult want to be this way, want to be treated this way, want to be this thing. And I say thing in the sense of like you want to be gay, you want to be straight, you want to be bi, you want to be whatever, right? You want to be this outside of the norm, right? The norm being straight, cis, all that. If you're 99% of people, you are the norm. But at the end of the day, those people do exist. And if you want to do these things, if you want to go into this surgery, if you want to do all these treatments as an adult, nobody should question it. Nobody should question it. The moment that you start talking to other people's kids about it, and you start trying to convince other people's kids about it, and worse yet, when you try to convince your own kids about it before they even have the opportunity, like there's stories out there, real stories of 4-year-old kids whose parents force them to exchange genders, right? And that's a terrible thing. That's child abuse. I think we can all agree on that. And if you don't agree on that, you should probably evaluate why you don't agree with that. And then, think about that first. Regardless, let's hear the rest of this because we're 10 seconds in.
You can be groomed for
And
sure.
I'm already
no,
yapping.
and that's a good point, right? Is that like that's why I said as an adult.
Oh, he's
is
watching
because,
the
like, if
fucking
you're a
video
kid,
again. Okay.
You got a kid. It's like if you this is something that a lot of people need to hear. Your parents have a mental illness, and this is something that a lot of people need to hear. It's something a lot of people need to hear. In school, yeah, no, you're right, and it could also be a school.
That's actually a good point. Yes, it's like I said, not just your kids, but sometimes you have these people who don't have kids of their own, who have made this choice as adults, and so they are now teachers, and rather than allowing kids to grow into their own and being a guide and being a help to kids, they choose to instead be the ones who actually step in and put these ideas in the heads of kids. And because the kid looks up to you, the kid is much more likely to actually go along with this idea, even though it's not theirs. So you're essentially tricking this child into going down a road that they are going to regret. And by doing that, not only do you damage the child, you damage your own movement as well.
It's not always the parents. Sometimes it's a school too. But there's an adult with a mental illness in your life. That's a great point. And so anyway, a lot of people were posting this trying to act like, oh, wow, like, we're going to try to get him in trouble for this shit. Like, I'm sorry, but this is like a 90-10 issue. This is like beyond even 80-20. Like, everybody fucking thinks this. The only reason that nobody's saying it is because people are afraid of saying it. The fact is that, like, I don't really give a shit because, like, I mean, fuck, like, I people hate me all the time, right? So, like, there's nothing to lose. But the fact is that it's a 99-1.
I don't know that it's a 99-1. The difference between 90-10 and 99-1 is huge, by the way. Like, it is 10x. I do think it's a 90-10 issue in the sense that 90% of people think that if you're prepubescent and you think you're trans, you're probably fucking wrong. Statistically speaking. There's been a number of studies done on this. I'm not going to argue with anybody in the comments about this. You can have your opinion. I'm going to hold to my opinion that is built off of statistical fact and scientific study. A lot of kids going through puberty, 60% of kids going through puberty go through gender dysphoria. And this is going through puberty, not prepubescent. Now, this is important. This is an important fact. Prepubescent kids is not what we're talking about here. I'm talking about kids going through puberty, suffer gender dysphoria. Kids, prepubescent, almost none. Almost none of them suffer gender dysphoria. There are some. They're such a small minority, right? So, a lot of kids going through puberty suffer gender dysphoria. 90% of them grow out of it. Okay? This means that if you take the 60% of kids who suffer gender dysphoria and you begin the process of transitioning all of them, 90% of them are going to regret it. The problem is, a lot of trans activists will state that yes, you should immediately start them with puberty blockers to delay the process, ignoring the fact that that's been proven to cause long-term damage. You should immediately start them on socialization, ignoring the fact that has been proven to cause irrevocable not irrevocable, but very long-lasting sociological damage to the child. And eventually physical surgery, ignoring the fact that that is irreversible and that causes permanent physical discomfort, and damage. When you put things into perspective like this, that means that when a child goes through puberty, they get the gender dysphoria. If you immediately start the process of chemically and sociologically transitioning them, you are committing child abuse. You are ignoring the statistical fact that they are most likely going to grow out of it. I know 3 trans people, 2 of them grew out of it. Oh, and by the way, we were completely for it. They said they wanted to be treated a certain way. We treated them that way. They would wear binders. They would do all that stuff. And by the time that they hit one of them, this started at 13. They started the binders. They started all that stuff. Their parents said, "Okay, you can begin the treatments when you are 18 if you still want them." They hit 18. The parents asked. They said, "No, I just like dressing up." That's it. Right now, this person goes by she, her. She was born a girl. She, her now. I think she switches names, so she has a bunch of nicknames. But she goes by all of them, so it's really just nicknames, not an actual name change. And she just likes dressing up in characters, in cosplay, in a little flamboyant style, but it's dressing up. That's what they wanted to do. They wanted to express themselves through clothes and behavior. Another one just completely wanted it for a bit. By the time they were 16, they had completely moved out of it. They don't want it anymore. And then the last one, yeah, they want to transition. They don't want to get the physical surgery. So this is to say that a lot of these situations are individuals. They need to be treated on an individual to individual basis. If you just say, if gender dysphoric, transition, child abuse, 100%.
It's an extreme.
Well, not 100%, but like close to 100%.
Situation, and especially like we're talking about, like, I said like pre-puberty, and this is really the logic, right? Is that so pretty much you have like the idea of being trans is tied to gender roles, but when you don't even understand what your own gender role is because it doesn't exist, because you're pre-puberty and you haven't even gone through any sort of like sexual development at all, how could you know that you don't have? How could you know that this is not correlated to what you want?
He's half right here. It's not just gender roles. It's also just like the physical transformations in your body. For a lot of people, this feels very body horror-esque, like the way your body kind of changes without you being able to control it, and without you needing to be comfortable with it. It's gonna happen no matter what. So it's not necessarily gender roles. For a lot of people, it is. Not for everybody. Yeah, it's not necessarily a gender roles issue, but it's half. He's half right here. He's half right.
Well, guess what? The reason why is because you have an adult whispering in your ear telling you it's not. And that's really the reason. Trans is not the same as attraction.
Yeah, but we're not talking about that. We're not talking about sexuality. We're talking about gender identity.
No, but in order to understand gender roles, you have to understand what gender is.
That is true.
And do kids understand that? No, they don't. So how could they understand that they're not a gender if they don't even have a full understanding on what gender is?
And this is why kids need to grow a little bit more before they can make a fully educated decision on what they want to be in life.
How does that work? Oh, wait a minute. I know how it works. It's because they're getting fed weird shit by adults. That's the reason why. That's how it is. Most adults anymore. Yeah, you seen the Fleek video? I'm going to watch it later on. I haven't gotten around to it. But we're going to watch it. Don't worry about it. Leave the kids alone. I know. It's crazy. It's almost like people who want to groom kids will try to put themselves around kids. It almost is. I don't really make that correlation. And the funny thing is that people said that what I said was transphobic.
No, I don't think this is transphobic. I think it's activist phobic. That's it. Like, I think that what he said is going to piss off activists because it's directed at them and it's stating that they are doing something bad. And unfortunately, a lot of activists try to conflate themselves with the larger group, and that's not true. In fact, The concept of LGBT doesn't actually exist. It's not a real thing. The group, I mean, not the activists. So there's the lesbians and the gays and the bisexuals, which most people are okay with and they're okay with themselves. Then you've got the trans people, then you've got the queer people. These are all separate groups, by the way. And unfortunately, the more activists on the internet, these people do not exist in real life. They only exist in real life when they go outside to make everybody else's life a little bit less comfortable. Usually by shouting and screaming and burning down people's cars. These people are not okay with each other. They don't like each other all that much. The only time where they are a single group is when an activist, usually somebody who is in the queer category, in the sense that they identify as something other than straight without necessarily wanting to specify what, because most of them are just straight. Most of them are just, they're allies, basically. And they force themselves into the group, and then they wear the group as a banner for the purpose of feeling special. These people do not actually belong to the group, they just want to make noise. And because they just want to make noise, they make the wrong kind of noise. They don't actually want to help the movement at all. They want the movement to continue to feel oppressed, to continue to be oppressed, so that they can continue to act out their proxy war for all intents and purposes. Now, are there certain situations that require extra attention regarding these groups? Absolutely. But when you make every single situation a battle, you will eventually lose by attrition. Because this is a battle of hearts and minds. You can't win hearts and minds through attrition like this. You can't. You can't beat people over the head until they like you. Doesn't work. The more you beat somebody over the head, the less they like you. Eventually, if you turn enough people against you like this, whilst continuously threatening violence, because, and again, I'm talking about activists here. I'm not talking about the groups, because the groups themselves just want to be left the fuck alone. Straight up. If all of these activists disappeared from 1 second to the next, right now, as things are in the West, if every single one of these activists, not disappeared, but if they stopped talking for like a month, all of these problems would solve themselves. People would be okay with lesbians, gays, bisexuals, and trans people. Lesbians, gays, bisexuals, and trans people would be okay with each other, and they'd be okay with straight and cis people, and there would literally be no more of this drama. But because of activists on Twitter that nobody agrees with, that nobody likes, but everybody's too scared to call them idiots, now we have a problem, right? And I know tons of people on Twitter, trans people, content creators, all of whom agree with this thing that Asmon said. You want to know how many of them commented on it? None. Because they're all fucking afraid. I didn't comment on it because I wanted to make this video. Because I wanted there to be a focus for this stuff. So let's continue watching Asmongold talk.
Do you know what? You don't know the real people that I think are transphobic, are the ones pushing this stuff. Because this is the kind of stuff that's going to alienate average people against trans people that just want to live their lives
I wouldn't say they're transphobic, but yeah, they are working against it. I already said this, though.
As adults, as the other gender. This is the kind of stuff that radicalizes people. So, in fact, in a lot of ways, by me saying this, you know, I'm actually trying to help trans people and say, listen.
And the trans people agree with him. The normal ones, not the ones who don't actually believe in gender identity and just want to force the ideology on kids so as to win some type of mind war.
This is not something that people want. This is not something people believe in. Stop trying to get behind this cause and stop pushing this, because if you do, you're going to ruin the whole thing. And that's what's already happening. So it's a soapboxing. It is.
Yep.
And, you know, I view myself as an inoculation, you know, like people hear a little bit of something they don't like, and hopefully they're going to be better off in the long term because of it. But the fact is that, you know, this is a losing proposition. It's a losing argument. People don't agree with this. Most people think it's gross. And honestly, if you go and you do this, you're going to have a lot of problems with a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when you reach for somebody's kid, They become aggressive, very aggressive. And when you make them aggressive, they are not going to listen to you when you try to talk to them afterwards. So talk to the parents. Just go, hey, some of the things that your child has said here in the classroom and in recess makes me believe that they might be in the earliest stages of gender dysphoria. They might identify with a gender that they weren't born as. Have you seen these signs at home? Is this something that your child has talked to you about? If so, this isn't something you need to take action on yet. This is just something that you need to be present for and be open to talking to your child about. That's it. That's all you need to do as a teacher.
All transphobes will be banned. No transphobes will be unbanned. They did this on an anonymous account because they didn't want to get held accountable for which individual person did it. And that's number one. Number two, well, I'm here that I should soapbox a little on my personal pet peeve is the performative ally, someone who wants the medal, someone who wants to be called tolerant but refuses to do the work. You're talking about people that refuse to do the work. You're moderating a subreddit. How can you even say this? Like, you want to talk about performative ally, and you're talking down on people as a moderator for a subreddit? Are you kidding me? What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Look in the goddamn mirror. It's amazing. We shouldn't let medical professionals decide what children are allowed to get.
Okay.
Decision is up to layman bigots. I love this. Someone who wants to be as nice of a person, but who still wants to make that genocidal comment about how there are no trans. It's a genocidal comment that there are no trans kids.
The idea that to say that a child that is prepubescent that does not yet understand gender roles, gender identity, or sexuality cannot be trans, because if you don't even understand what you are, how can you understand what you aren't? Is not genocidal. Genocidal would be if you were saying something along the lines of the eradication of a specific group. That's it. That's not what he said. He's only said it one time, and he got banned for it for 2 weeks. And then he came back and he apologized. And since then, he's been a lot more moderate with a lot of the things he said. Go figure. In fact, I remember the other day, I was watching a video, I was like, damn, Zach sounds a little bit angrier. And then I went to check it, and it was from before he got banned. And I was like, damn, he has actually fucking changed. What the hell?
Bro, 10 years from now, genocide is going to be getting the wrong food whenever you get a fucking order at McDonald's.
Yeah, there is the problem of conflating things like the word genocide, which doesn't just mean having an opinion that you disagree with, right? Because this is not a genocidal statement. And by the way, medical professionals kind of agree with me and kind of agree with Zach. So, yeah, the only layman here is the person saying, oh, we should do what the kid wants. And then the kid doesn't really have a want in this situation because you tricked them.
God, bro, they are watering this shit down so hard.
Yep.
They all.
It's like the term Nazi. It's like the term groomer. It's like the term pedophile. It's all on the fucking internet. It's all watered down. It's why I fucking hate this shit. It's why I fucking hate talking to some of these people, because it really does become impossible to have a conversation with them when they conflate terms. They will say things like, knowing that this is this, and then it's just a false statement. It's just an untrue thing that they just said. So you cannot have a conversation with that person unless you say, but you're wrong, but that's not true. You cannot let them move on with falsehood. So the genocidal comment, this isn't genocidal. There's no further conversation until you admit that this isn't genocidal. And if you continue to believe that this is genocidal, the only bigot here is this person. Because they genuinely believe that if you do not allow someone else to change a kid's gender identity through manipulation, you're somehow evil. When in fact the only evil person is the one setting a child up for years of mental stress.
Watering this.
And, you know, a 50% suicidality rate. I feel like we don't address this enough. Every time that you take a child that is suffering gender dysphoria as per puberty and you manipulate them into believing that they are trans, even though there is a 90+% chance that they are going to grow out of it. And by the way, I say 90 plus. It's actually closer to 98%. So 1 in 50 is going to stick with it. So 49 out of 50. Those 49 kids, you're giving each and every one of them a 50% suicidality rate. If you do that. If you take all of those kids, if you take 100 kids, 60% of them, this is going to be on screen so you can visualize it better. You take 100 kids, 60 of them suffer gender dysphoria during puberty. This is an older number. I don't know if this is a real number anymore, but 60. Of those, you give all of them gender-affirming treatment to affirm the new gender. Not the one they were born with, the new one. Of those, maybe 1 out of every 50, so that's one of them is going to actually stick with it. So that kid is safe. That kid is safe. I smacked the shit out of my mic there because I'm moving my hand around. I'm leaving that in. One of those kids is safe. The other 59 now have a 50% suicidality rate. Congratulations, you killed 30 kids. We're the bigots.
It's down, like, this is genocidal comment. What are we
I hope actually mathing it out for you was helpful.
even talking about? Like, this is crazy. How do you do this? Yes. Oh my God. Genociders in chat. This is crazy. We shouldn't let medical professionals decide the treatment that children are allowed to get, with decisions up to layman bigots. You know what layman bigots is? There's another term for that in this context. It's called the parents.
Yeah.
But no, if you post transphobic language, I'll ban you. Because you are worse than an open bigot, you want the accolades. Be very clear. Gender identity develops throughout the ages of 3 to 5.
Says fucking who? You? No. I'm looking this up. Gender identity development age. Can recognize and label gender groups. They may identify others as girls, women, or feminine, or they may label others as boys, men, or masculine. Most also label their own gender by the time they reach age 3. Okay. That is not gender identity. That is repeating what others say. Okay. Let's read a little further. Who wrote this article? Jason Rafferty, MD. Okay. He's a psychiatrist. Many ways parents can promote healthy gender development in children. Helps to understand gender identity, how it forms. Around age 2, children become conscious of the physical differences. Age 2. Most children can easily label themselves as either boy or girl. Most children have a stable sense of their gender identity. By age 4. Okay. This is a thing as well. It's already suggesting all sorts of puberty blockers, which I think is not good. In studies examined, the percentage reporting a gender identity different from that assigned at birth rates, 1.2 to 4.1%. Yeah, I'm asking for gender dysphoria in adolescents going through puberty because it is like very, very high. Do children grow out of gender dysphoria? Yes, they do. Read the article. Oh, 40%. Refer to them progress onto puberty. Okay. Yeah. It's a very large percentage. So 64% of them had completely desisted or were no longer traceable. So it's 80%. Or 64%, sorry. There's a lot of studies here that show that a vast majority of kids grow out of it. That study seems to actually have a very, very small percentage compared to others. And it's weird that a lot of those studies got buried by essentially advertisements for puberty blockers. That's not a good thing.
Gender identity develops between
He's right. He is, however, taking that out of context.
the ages of 3 to 5. Everybody knows that's not true.
No. It's true in the sense that the kid can recognize it. It is not true in the sense that the kid understands it. The kid eventually will come to understand it, and then comes puberty, and then all of the problems that come with that.
Yeah, everybody knows that. You can't fully understand what it means to be a male.
But also, that is true. Like, he's referring to fully understanding the situation, not just recognizing it.
Male or a female until you are.
Because I would say that gender identity begins development around the ages of 3 to 5. This statement implies that it is fully developed, right?
At least a teenager, because you haven't even gone through puberty. I just don't understand how somebody can even say this, right? I mean, like, that comment made me sick. Well,
Puberty blockers are safe. Okay, let's see. What are the possible benefits of puberty blockers? What are the criteria for use of puberty blockers? Are the changes permanent? Yeah. Possible side effects. Might have long-term effects on growth spurts, bone growth, bone density, fertility. So this person lied.
Well, the reason why is because these people think this is normal. What medical treatment a child can have is between them, the parents, and the medical professionals treating them. No, it's not.
You do not, and they're conflating cancer treatment with puberty blockers.
It's absolutely not. There are a lot of things that a child can't consent to, even with parental consent, and that's a good thing.
Yep.
Think about.
Yeah, a child can't drink. A child can't get a tattoo. A child can't get cosmetic surgery. 90% of this sort of treatment, both chemical and surgical, boils down to cosmetic surgery, which has massive side effects. Really massive. So, yeah, this is just extreme cosmetic surgery. If a child cannot consent to getting a boob job or a butt lift or Botox on their face, why can they consent to this?
How many parents would sign their kids up for disgusting things, but we have laws against it that protect the children because it's for the greater good.
Yep.
And this is also for the betterment of kids in a general state. Thank God for that. We already went through all of this. Like, I just don't understand how, like, somebody can think, like...
And actually, you know what? Let's actually look that up. How old to get Botox? 18. How old to get butt lift? 18. How old to get boob job? Isn't a strict rate. Most would recommend waiting until breasts are fully developed. FDA approves saline implants for those 18 and older. So why is there an entire online movement for something that is far more invasive, far more long-lasting side effects, and far worse in terms of all sorts of other side effects, and both mental and physical? And they want it to be for under 18s. Why?
We can all be on the same page that, like, a kid shouldn't get a tattoo.
Yeah.
Like, a kid at 6 years old probably shouldn't get a tattoo.
Or Botox, or, any of the other things that I said.
Now, I guarantee you that there are kids that at 6 years old wanted to get a tattoo, And then at 21, they got a tattoo.
Yeah.
So they wanted it their whole life and they got the tattoo. That's right. But that doesn't mean that you just because that and people giving like their opinions on it doesn't mean you get to go back and do it. Yeah, uranium mines. I know. Why not? Let them drive a car too. Despite endless lives from turf, puberty blockers are safe, reversible, and have less lasting side effects than giving no treatment would have.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Not for the majority of cases. Even in that other study that said 64%, that means that 2 out of 3 times, you're hurting the kid.
How could no treatment have side effects? What?
Transitioning saves lives. It also hurts. And again, let's even say, right? And by the way, I'm ignoring that that the 50% suicidality rate applies to people who transition willingly as well. I'm ignoring that because there's a number of other factors to that. So we're bypassing that entirely. Using the 64%, which is a small percentage compared to most of the other studies that I've seen, but because that's the one we saw here, right? 64%. That means you transition 3 kids. 1 is fine. The other 2, 1 is going to kill themselves. Transitioning saves lives. Statistically, that is not true. Because for every child, and by the way, none of this applies. You hit 18, go do your own thing. Talk to your parents, go get the surgery, do all that stuff. 100% support it. 12, because that's puberty. And in fact, this person is talking about pre-puberty. So 12. 10, actually. So you take 3 10-year-olds. For every 1 that you helped, quote unquote helped, 1 you did the exact opposite, and 1 you killed. Transitioning doesn't save kids' lives. Transitioning kills kids, statistically speaking, and then has a neutral effect on the ones who don't kill themselves. Because for every 1 that you helped, you hurt another one. And if you're one of the people who say that, oh, they grow out of it, that kills trans people. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. You grew out of it. That means you're no longer bothered by this. You no longer believe that you are something else. You no longer have this. You're done. You are out of the situation. You no longer have to suffer through this. You're no longer a part of the conversation. It's over.
What the hell are you talking about? Transitioning saves lives. Transitioning earlier means being able to transition more successfully. Well, let me go.
No.
Well, let's think
We've already disproved this.
about this in the right way. So if transitioning saves lives and transitioning earlier is better, and you think gender identity develops around 3 to 5, should 3-year-olds be getting transitioned?
This person would probably say yes.
Should 5-year-olds be getting transitioned?
I mean, this person's entire argument is built around this statement, so they probably would think so.
Uh-oh. That's an FBI moment. And it should be. Where do these people come from? He said, yes, by their logic. Yeah, by their logic. That's a weird thing to say. Why are these trans pushers so goddamn brain dead? I really feel bad for average, well-adjusted trans people. And before you go and start making like negative statements, I'm not transphobic. You can go and keep up.
Yeah, I don't think anything so far that I've said or that he said is anti-trans at all.
Mind. I say this before I say it again. Try to find me a situation in my whole fucking life. I've been on the internet my whole fucking life where a gay person, a trans person, or anyone with a different gender identity ever had a bad experience with me in their fucking life. You won't.
You see, like, there's gonna be people watching the video who are going to consider that the negative experience, but they'd be wrong, because that's not what he's talking about.
Because that's not how I am. It wasn't how I was whenever I was a kid even. 0. It's fucking 0. I don't have problems like that with people. I never have. I feel bad for a lot of the well-adjusted reasonable adult trans people that are getting lumped in with these freaks and these virtue signors that are using their cause as a soapbox to push an ideology that 90% of people think that you're a fucking pedophile for. What are we talking about? And I feel bad for them because they're going to lose their rights. They're like, trans people are getting a ton of hate because of these fucking freaks. These people that want to say gender identity develops around the age of 3 to 5 and transitioning earlier is the reason why that's better, right? I mean, you put 2 and 2 together, that's it. Child abuse where they cross around. Yeah, exactly. LGBT are sick of the TQ plus. The normal T is sick of this insane T. What I'm saying is there is even a rift inside of this specific group of people. This is crazy, bro. It's crazy. It's giving trans adults a bad.
The reason I'm no longer like saying anything is because I've said all of this stuff. I guarantee there's going to be almost nothing that I need to comment on further throughout the rest of this video. I'm pretty sure I've spoken for like 40 minutes already. I guarantee that, well, 30 minutes, whatever. I guarantee I've already said everything he's going to say.
Name. Yes, exactly. Like, you guys know,
because
like,
it's just
I
true.
respect people's
It's what everybody
pronouns. I
thinks.
treat them with respect and dignity. I treat everybody with respect and dignity. And it doesn't matter if somebody is a man, a woman, even a Karen. Even a Karen, I'll respect them with dignity until they start acting like a Karen. Then it's different. But, you know, somebody's got fucking in a wheelchair, trans, they're bald, they're fat. Everybody deserves being treated right way. But this is with kids, and this is different. I've never seen a T be against doing it to kids. Do you have examples? I do, but they're private conversations I've had with people. Yeah.
I know several as well. Almost every single trans person that I've talked to is against doing it to kids. Every single one. I have 3 close friends who are against it, and I know a half dozen others in like just acquaintance. They're all against it.
There's actually a lot of people that think that. Yeah,
and they don't
no, I mean,
say it. They don't say it because, of course, they can't say it because they're on the internet, and if they're on the, and most of them are content creators, and so they can't say this stuff out loud because if they do, then they're fucked.
like I do, but like, I mean, I don't have like a fucking list, right? I don't have like a, you know, a notepad with like, oh, there's like 5 of them, right? Caitlyn Jenner, Blair White. Yeah, I mean, there you go, right?
They're Caitlyn Jenner, yeah. Blair White, I wouldn't really consider Blair White because she is a content creator that has built herself up on a platform of being against this sort of movement. So she's obviously going to be against this because she's kind of built her platform on that.
Right, and so there's a number of examples. I know 3, shut the fuck up, chatter, touch grass, and talk to people. You learn they aren't insane. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Most trans people just want to be able to, like, a lot of trans people, being trans isn't their whole life,
Yep.
right? And so, like, for them, like, I feel like really, I feel bad for them. I do. It's sad. They just want to live their life. Exactly. And so, like, you have these people, like, these people are going to speed run getting gay marriage revoked. I'm going to be honest. They're going to speed run getting gay marriage revoked. They're going to speed run identifying yourself as male or trans or like whatever as identity theft. They're going to speed run forcing people to not be able to do this. This is what's going to happen. It's already happening. It is, because people are tired of it. People are tired of having people tell them that your 7-year-old child knows what they need to do with their biology better than their parents do. Yeah, they don't want to hear that at all. You're correct. However, it's up to the T's to police the radicals and group publicly with shame, which they do not do.
That's actually a very good point. You gotta police your own community. If you don't do that, eventually they'll be policed by the law. You do not want that to happen.
Doing it privately isn't enough. I understand your point of view, and I think that you have a little bit of credibility of what you're saying, but I don't think it's that simple. And I'll give you an example of that, which is J.K. Rowling. I know she's not trans, but just listen along. J.K. Rowling was beloved by the woke community, right? The 2014 woke community, they all loved her because she was a huge feminist. But the moment that she went against this one thing with being trans and said being trans is not the same as being born a woman, which everybody knows this is true, especially biologists. And so the fact is that she...
Yeah, It wasn't even that, actually. It wasn't even that. She basically just said something along the lines of, just because trans women exist and are real women, that does not mean that cis women do not deserve their own space and do not have their own unique experience. That was it. That was the statement. That was the original statement that caused all of these people to turn against her. The idea that cis women and trans women were not inherently the same. Which everybody agrees with, including trans activists, so yeah.
She got excommunicated. And now they hate her more than if she had never agreed with them to begin with. So don't be surprised when a person, this is also the truth, is that trans people, do you want to know one of the reasons why trans people have high rates of suicide? It's because society treats them like fucking shit. That's one of the reasons. And so
there's a lot of arguments to and fro with this, with regards to this. Keep in mind that a lot of people who were oppressed throughout history did not have suicidality rates this high. For example, Jewish people did not have suicidality rates this high during the Holocaust. Now, granted, they did believe that suicide was a bad thing, but I'm pretty sure that we as a society believe that as well. So, I don't know if that can be considered the only factor, right? I think that there is an argument to be made for the idea that just by virtue of having the gender dysphoria, by virtue of all of these transitions, all of these these chemical treatments that a lot of these people take, and the fact that a lot of these people do later in life change their minds and feel as though they can't go back because of the physical transformations that they've gone through, that is what eventually leads to the suicide. Now, granted, I think that there is a factor of that is societal rejection, but more and more society is in favor of trans people, and somehow the rate keeps increasing. That's all I'm saying.
when you have somebody,
Like, we are not more transphobic as a society today than we were last year or the year before or the year before that, right? So I don't think that there's any argument that can be made for the thing causing that number to go up to be societal rejection.
who categorically is signing up for getting harassed, hated, and fucked with for their whole life, and they decide, you know what, maybe I don't want to sign up to get attacked by this massive group of people. Not always? Wow, not always. Thanks a lot for that. I didn't, wow, okay, thank you so much. And so anyway, cause or correlation, if you think that the level of public acceptance is not relative at all to suicide rates of being trans, I think you're being willfully dishonest.
That's not what he said.
You are. You're being willful.
That's not what he said. He said cause or correlation, right? That means cause, is the societal rejection the cause, or is it just related, right? It's different.
Willfully dishonest. Of course it is.
Cause means this bottle of Prime is here, therefore table explodes, right? Correlation is this bottle of Prime is here, and also the table exploded.
And so anyway, that being said,
there is a relationship between the two. It can't be the only reason. It can't be. Like, if we just analyze things properly and we look at how society is becoming more accepting of these groups, of marginalized communities, of, you know, non-conforming sexuality and gender identities over the years, and somehow the suicidality rates are increasing.
these people just don't want to sign up to get harassed again. They get harassed on a daily basis. They get harassed in their life. There are people, the majority of the world is transphobic. They are fighting a losing battle just fucking by signing up for this to exist in this way, period. Nobody is responsible for pushing away another group of people that they're not related to. One trans person is not responsible for the other person for another trans person's behavior.
He's kind of right, but at the same time, if you're trying to ingratiate yourself to society at large, which is what these people are trying to do, or at least most trans people are trying to ingratiate themselves with society, trans activists are trying to bludgeon society into ingratiating themselves with them, except one person can't really bully 99 people, right? And that's kind of the percentage that we're talking about here.
The same way, like, some white person shoots up a school, all white people aren't responsible for that.
Yes, but when you have such a small minority, sometimes you only get one or two interactions with the group. And so when you only get one or two interactions with such a small group, and a large percentage of those interactions are negative, you are going to have to represent your group each time you interact with someone new. Yes, that's exhausting. There's nothing what can I say about that? It's just reality. It's just real life. Each time that you fail to represent your group in a positive light, you negatively affect the way other people see your group. That's just how it is. That is just truth. Is it good? No. Is it bad? Yes. Is it also true? Yes, it's true. That's just a fact. It's just a fact. That's how real life works. What can you do about it? You can behave well. You can be a good person. You can be the person that you wish other people see you as. And if you do that, then at the end of the day, people will like your group more.
Islamic person blows themselves up in some terrorist shit. All Muslims aren't responsible for that.
But they are going to be held as responsible by the community at large because that's all that the community is seeing of the group.
Some fucking, like, I'm trying to think. Like, I could come up with 50 other ones, right? With these, like, racial stereotypes.
Yeah, but it doesn't really matter to people who don't have direct contact with the group.
Like this, some woman does, like, some woman lies about, like, a rape charge, and then, all other women aren't responsible for that. You're responsible.
But because one woman lied, now when another woman comes forward, people are going to hesitate to believe her.
Responsible for yourself. You're responsible for what you do, and that's it. And so,
yes. But at the same time, other people don't care. When a trans activist goes around making a fool of themselves, talking about how they want to have the ability to convince kids to be gender dysphoric and convince kids to transition themselves. If trans people who are normal don't go out of their way to combat that, they will be treated as if they agreed with it.
So anyway, yeah. And you choose to be trans, though? Yeah, you do. Of course you do. Sure. But yeah, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
There's arguments for and against that. I don't want to make a statement on that.
It was mental state of a mod. Yeah, and I really feel bad because I know where this is going. I know where this is going. You guys know where this is going too. We all know where this is going. This is going back to 1995 family values. Yep. Identity politics are pushed forward by mainstream media because it keeps people distracted from class warfare.
How are you going to get people to stop being trans?
I think we're going to tell boys that they're not girls.
So we're
going
to tell boys that they're not girls, and
Yeah.
they're going to listen.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's what we've done for most
Yeah.
of
Because
history.
that
Yeah.
happened to me, and I can promise you to God that I didn't listen.
Yeah, and then you became an adult and you made your decision. props to you. Big support to you because you got to be an adult. You got to go your entire childhood knowing what you are, and then at the end of it, you chose to be who you are. Now, is it a good thing that your parents didn't acknowledge that? Of course not. But there is a difference between, okay, you want to be treated this way, we will support you, but you're not getting treatment until you're 18, because this treatment can be very damaging. And what if you change your mind? We should leave that door open.
Yeah, well,
What a surprise. Something that usually works doesn't always work.
Yeah.
because we live at a time that is affirming the transgender delusion. But if we lived at a more sensible time, probably you would have listened, and you
But
might have
we're
had
not.
some. And I think we should just return to a more sensible kind of
But
politics.
what is yours? You're not giving a solution on how you would even be capable of
Yeah, I
doing
think I am. I
something.
think
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he
I'm
gave the
pretty sure
solution.
he's giving the solution.
He gave the solution. I don't look. I don't think he's the best person to be talking about this because I don't think he really cares. Right? I don't think this person cares that much. I think he just kind of wants to win an argument, and I think that when you're in that state, there's not much that can be talked about with you.
Very plainly.
we kicked the fellas out of the boys' bathroom. We kicked the
How
transgender
are you
teaching
going
out of
to do
schools.
that?
How are you going to do that's easy?
Just to
That's-
uphold the
what do you
law.
mean?
The law.
We just
exists already.
enforced the law as it was before 2015.
There
It's
was a
not that
law
hard.
prohibiting trans women to go into the women's bathroom or trans men going into the men's bathroom.
Yes. Yes. Like, yes, that's still a thing, actually. Men can't go into the women's bathroom, and in the same vein, trans women, who are men who transition into women, can usually not go into the women's bathroom unless there's some form of rule being applied differently there that allows that. Usually, you can't do that.
Yeah, it's there in the term women's bathroom.
That's a law.
That's a funny zoom in. That is a funny fucking zoom in. It's a funny zoom in.
Yeah.
That's why men can't go
That's a
in.
law.
Yeah. Yes, there are all sorts of laws against public indecency, for one,
Yeah.
against men going into women's sports leagues. There are all sorts of regulations against that,
Yeah.
or at least there were until recently. We
I think the regulations are still enforced, at least on a federal and Olympic level. I think statewide in the U.S. I'm not certain, but then again, I don't do sports in the U.S., so I wouldn't know.
did not have established in public life transgenderism until very, very recently.
That's not true.
Yeah.
That is very true.
That
That's
is
not true. What about the two-spirited people?
What?
What is the two-spirited people?
What?
This is some
What does that have to do with the conversation you're having right now?
crazy PR for schizophrenia.
Okay, that's funny.
It really is. Like, this is some crazy. Like, you don't see PR like this. Like, this is nuts. Wow.
In the indigenous community, they are. I don't want to get into semantics,
Okay, now we're talking about indigenous people.
but I know that the fact is that there has always been trans.
Yes, there has always been people who identify differently, but there is a fucking difference between what we would read about in ancient Greek fucking texts and Roman texts and all of those accounts that talk about men and women, well, actually mostly men, who, as a show of eccentricity, chose to dress as women but didn't identify as women, they just dressed a certain way. In the same vein, do you know how you would be considered gay in Greek and Roman culture? You were only considered gay if you were the one receiving. If you were doing it, if you were inserting yourself, you were not gay. Amazing, right? This was a big fucking topic of conversation, even back then, between Achilles and, I forget the fucking guy's name. I think it was Achilles. It was a massive topic. Was he gay, or was he the man in the relationship? That's how they saw it. They didn't talk about, are you gay? Do you like men? No, that's not a factor. The factor for them was, do you take or do you give? That's what mattered to them. Top or bottom. That's all. That's all. Men are supposed to be tops, women are supposed to be bottoms. If a man chooses to be a bottom, he is less of a man. That's how they believe it. Every fucking historian who's ever studied this knows this. Why do we have to ignore that fact? What is this? And the same thing with the whole trans thing. Like, they didn't have that concept. They didn't talk about it that way. It's like, it was just a guy who dressed as a woman, as far as they cared. And usually, go figure, this was only a thing for the rich, for the successful, for the people who didn't work farms for 90% of their day. And only those people really got away with this shit. That was it. Everybody else, not allowed. Oh, he's fucking weird. Burn him. Hit him with rocks. He's fucking weird. That's all. That's all they cared about. So pretending like we are a less accepting society. Voice crack. Pretending like we are a less accepting society than 300, 400, 500, 800, 1,000 years ago is completely fucking ridiculous.
People.
Do you know where the phrase two-spirited came from?
I don't.
It
Please.
came
I
from
love how my favorite part about this is that this
He's about to fucking say something that she's gonna get mad at. I just know it.
person realized how fucking retarded being two-spirited is, and they stopped themselves like 10% into their explanation because they knew that it was stupid. They knew it was fucking stupid. And so they're like, okay, actually, you know what? Let's not talk about that.
Enlighten me.
It came from the third annual Intertribal Native American First Nations Gay and Lesbian Americans Conference in 1990. And the woman who coined that term...
I just don't think that that's true.
It's true.
Like,
The woman
I
who
just-
I don't think that that's true.
Let's see. Somebody said fact check, so fact check it.
coined that term admitted.
again,
hold on.
like,
Let me
you're
just finish my point on this. The woman who coined that term, Maya Laramie, admitted somewhat recently that the term two-spirit came to her in a dream.
I would have never guessed. What a surprise.
So that is something to fact check, you know? Like, let's see. Two-spirited origin. Contemporary pan-Indian, what the fuck is pan-Indian? Philosophical and political approach promoting unity and, to some extent, cultural homogenization among different indigenous groups in the Americas, regardless of tribal distinctions and cultural differences. I don't think any, like, any of the Indian tribes of way back when would be pro this, but okay, sure. Okay, contemporary pan-Indian umbrella term used by some to describe Native who fulfill a traditional third gender, coined in 1990 as a primarily ceremonial term promoting community recognition. In recent years, more individuals have taken to self-identifying as two-spirit, so it's only from 1990 then. Yeah, that kind of confirms it. Initial intent in coining the term was to differentiate indigenous concepts of gender and sexuality from those of non-native lesbians and gays. The neologism two-spirit was developed over a series of 5 conferences. Credit for developing the term is usually given to several participants. The term was first developed and proposed in English and later in Ojibwe. So it's an actual English term. So it actually has nothing to do with Native Americans at all.
Now, the
It has to do with English. So modern Americans.
Ojibwe Nation actually
Contemporary Americans, sorry.
has translated this term.
just
It's the
don't- I
Niche
don't
Mani
see- I
Duwag,
don't
but they
understand-
translated
I
it from the
don't
English in
understand
1990.
How you're capable of eradicating an entire percentage of people by setting laws because people are
You're
so
not.
gonna go,
I think you're choosing not to hear what I'm saying because
Yes.
I'm saying we don't want to eradicate any
you
people.
isn't
We
the
want to
word eradicate in prompts?
But the other word is transgenderism, which is an ideology, not a
But
group of
I
people.
am a transgender person.
Yeah, but you're not. You're conflating. You are conflating transgenderism, which is the ideology that being transgender and making other people into transgender is somehow virtuous, with being transgender people. Like, we can look up transgenderism right now. Like, I am live fact checking this shit, right? The quality or characteristic of being transgender. So, yeah. This is not what transgenderism is. Transgender ideology is riddled with contradiction. No, that's a biased article. I'm specifically referring to transgenderism as an ideology, which hard to find.
You can't just
You are
skip over.
Yeah, it's like there is a difference between being transgender and following transgenderism. Does that make sense? And I think that that's what a lot of people try to fight. And again, I already said that this is the worst type of person to have this conversation about because he's always going to be trying to win the debate. Unless you can kind of force him out of a debate format, which this person has not even attempted to do, and in fact has kind of enforced the debate format by being openly hostile and aggressive in the conversation. You're never going to get him to engage with the topic in good faith. So this conversation is worthless, like from the start.
confused person, but you're not.
Babe. I'm so
What's with this shit? Like, you're confused. I'm not, babe. You're both fucking retarded.
secure in myself, and there's other women in this room that are also trans, have been trans for
What is this person doing in the background? You are so fucking insecure. You need to, like, do this shit to let people know that you are secure. Shut up.
20
What
plus
are you
years,
doing?
7 years
What are you
Oh
doing
my god, he's roasting her too.
with the, what you?
plus years,
Jesus.
7 years, babe, that know exactly what they're doing.
I'm sorry, but if you go, yeah, you're insecure. You're insecure as fuck.
You're confused because it's not
How are
possible
you
for a man
capable
to
of
become a
looking at
woman.
somebody without knowing their bodily autonomy, knowing anything that's going on with their medical
Bodily
history,
autonomy?
anything,
Because I
you
know
know nothing
I know
about
the
me.
basics of human nature.
You know nothing about me.
He knows some things about you.
I know that you're
And you-
human,
Oh, got her.
and I know a little bit about human nature, and I know that a boy
you.
can't become a girl.
Got her. She's got no fucking counter
So
argument.
that's what I.
Anybody want to take that?
Like, see, this is what I'm talking about. Like, you can't really win a debate against Matt Knowles. First of all, he's much more secure in his ideology than most people are. He's much more well versed in this than most people are. He's much more well trained for this than most people are. And he's actually experienced. You're never going to win a debate against him. The only way to do this is to actually pull him out of the debate space by being friendly, by engaging directly with the topic, and rather than going at it from a I need to win perspective, you need to engage from a how can we best help everyone involved? And if you do that, you can maybe score some points. And by the way, scoring points would be actually convincing him to come to your side, not making him look stupid. Because the more you try to make somebody else look stupid in an argument, the more hostile they become to you, and the less likely they are to ever agree with you. And when Matt Knowles has probably millions of fans for every one of yours, you're never going to win that way. The only way you win is by changing his mind. This person was never going to change his mind because she had no intention of it. I assume she, because she's dressed like a woman.
She knew, bro. It was over. Yeah, it was over.
Overall, I think this was an important video to talk about. Most of this was started off based on the first video that we talked about, and that was important. And that was a good thing to talk about. I know there's going to be a lot of people mad about this. I also know that there's a lot of people who are going to watch this video, and they'll agree and say nothing. I encourage you to say something if you agree. I encourage you to make your opinion known. Because if you don't, you'll be buried. And by the way, I encourage both sides to spread their opinion. Because only in an open market of ideas can we actually know who's right. Who has the majority opinion, right? Now, the internet is very, very progressive, sometimes too progressive. Does that mean it's good? Maybe. Does that mean it's bad? Maybe. The only way to know is to examine everything. But this was a much longer video than I thought it would be. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. I know I enjoyed talking about this stuff. Let me know below if, you have thoughts on this. If not, just comment poopy. Just poopy. That's it. That's all you gotta say. If you just say poopy, I know you got to the end of the video. I appreciate the support. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one. Cheers.